Hi, Forever Family. I am a grateful follower of Jesus Christ. I struggle with lust, pornography, the painful hurt of divorce, and overeating. And my name is Eric. Recently, my family celebrated my father's 80th birthday. We went over to his house and we gathered around the dining room table as my mom served some delicious barbecue brisket. We talked, we laughed, we told some stories. My mom told a story about their first year in marriage and how they lived in Philadelphia while my dad served in the United States Navy. My dad would go to work during the day and come home at night. And one evening before my dad got home, my mom decided to make my dad his favorite sandwich, a tuna fish sandwich. She gathered a few eggs and put them into a big pot of water and put them on the stove and started the stove up. And while they were cooking, she stepped out of the front door to sweep the front porch and the stairs. But when she stepped out of the door shut behind her and it locked. She turned around and tried to fiddle with the knob and shake the door, but it was no use. She was locked out. She peered into the window and saw that pot of boiling water sitting on the stove. And after a few minutes, it got so hot that the eggs exploded out of the pot onto the ceiling and all over the kitchen counters, making quite a mess. My mom put the broom down, sat down on the stairs, and started to cry. And she was continuing to cry when my dad finally got home a few minutes later. And as he got home, he consoled her and somehow got in and helped her clean up the kitchen and the eggs off the ceiling. And we all laughed about that story. But then she got serious and she told us a couple other stories about some hardships that my mom and dad have gone through over the 58 years of marriage. And after she was done sharing, I asked her this question. I said, Mom, if you could go back in time and talk to that girl sitting on the steps crying, waiting for her husband, and you only had 10 minutes, what would you tell her about the future? It was interesting to hear her response, and then to hear the responses of everyone else around the dining room table as we asked ourselves that same question. If I could talk to my younger self for 10 minutes, what would I tell myself about the future? When it got to me, I thought there for a minute about all the pain and hurt that I've had in my past, my failed marriage and how it ended in a divorce. Would I tell myself about that and encourage myself not to get married because of all the pain and the hurt that was coming? Would I tell myself about certain events to try to change my past and avoid those things in my life? And then I remembered the last 10 years and what I've learned here at Celebrate Recovery. I learned that dealing with yesterday's pain moves me into the serenity of today and tomorrow. My past hurt is my present victory. One of my favorite verses here at Celebrate Recovery is Deuteronomy 4:9. It says, only be careful and watch yourself closely so that you do not forget the things that your eyes have seen or let them fade from your heart as long as you shall live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them. You see, yesterday's pain is what has made me and led me to where I am today. So, if I had 10 minutes to talk with myself, I would not tell myself about future events. What would I say? Well, first of all, I would tell myself to get a pen and paper because this is really important. Number one, Eric, stay out of denial. Stay out of denial. Right now, Eric, you're dealing with some secret addiction that no one else knows about, but I do because I've been there. You've also got some future pain that you're going to need to deal with, and you've got some character defects that you cannot fix on your own. You need a higher power, and that higher power is Jesus Christ. My dad used to have a book that he left on his desk, and he used to read it and leave it there. And I remember walking by and reading the cover one time, and it said, if you think you can, you can. And while that may be true in many areas of life, when it came to my addiction to pornography, it was not true. I tried for years to have victory over it and could not. It wasn't until I came here to Celebrate Recovery and started working Principle 1 that I started finally having some victory in that area of my life. Principle 1 says, realize that I am not God. I admit that I am powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. You see, if I continue to deny pain or addiction or character defects in my life, nothing changes. Nothing changes. I continue down that destructive path. Jeremiah 6:14 says, you cannot heal a wound by saying it's not there. Stay out of denial. Number 2, Eric, write this down. Face your pain. You need to face your pain. You need to embrace your pain. And you need to allow God to replace your pain with healing and peace. On June 18th, 1993, my firstborn baby girl entered this world. Her name is Erica. I remember holding her in the delivery room. I remember holding her under the heat lamp and talking baby talk to her and kissing her face. It was one of the most incredible experiences in my entire life. If you'd been a nurse or a doctor, you would not have known that there was anything wrong. But inside, my life was falling apart at the seams. 2 days later, sweet Erica was taken away from me on my very first Father's Day. That pain followed me for 17 years. I tried to escape it. I tried to run from it. But every time that I would go and pick her up and bring her back home and then have to take her back, that pain was waiting for me around the corner. You see, that pain led to medication. And medication led to addiction. And addiction led to insanity. You know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It wasn't until I came here to Celebrate Recovery that I realized that I needed to face that pain, embrace it, look at it, study it, and allow God to replace it with healing and peace. Lamentations 3:40 says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. It's only when I look at my pain and deal with it that God can heal it. Number 3, Eric, claim your serenity. Claim your serenity. Do you realize that God promises us peace and serenity? In Philippians 4:6 and 7, it says, do not worry, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your requests known, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I love that serenity prayer that we claim here at Celebrate Recovery. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. In 1995, my 19-year-old brother took his own life. That was a pain that I could not escape. It wasn't my fault, but I could not control it. I needed to embrace that pain and allow God to replace it with healing and peace. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. There's many things that I've learned here at Celebrate Recovery, but one of those is that serenity and sobriety happen in the present. As I give God my hurts, habits, and hang-ups, He gives me the strength to take it one day at a time. Taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that He will make all things right if I surrender to His will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with Him forever in the next. There is so much negative stuff going on in our world right now. It overwhelms me. I don't know what to do with it. The only thing that I can do is to let go and let God have it and heal it. And that gives me serenity. And that's it. That's what I would tell myself if I only had 10 minutes. How about you? Do you have any past hurts, pain, addiction, character defects that are coming back to haunt you? Maybe you're going through pain right now. I recently have read the Adam and Eve story in Genesis, and after they took that forbidden fruit, they realized that they had sinned, and they heard God in the garden. They heard Him walking. They hid from Him. And God said something very curious. He said, "Where are you?" It's curious because he's God and he didn't need to know where they were. He knew where they were. He said, "Where are you?" because he wanted them to acknowledge where they were. Let me encourage you. If you've got pain in your life, past or present, step out of denial and realize that you need a higher power to heal you from that pain. You need to face that pain, embrace that pain, allow God to replace that pain with healing and with peace. Remember that dealing with yesterday's pain will move you into the serenity of today and tomorrow. You see, your past hurt can be your present victory. I hope this message finds you in a good place, but if not, look to God, look to Jesus for your higher power. I want to leave you with this verse out of Romans 8:28 that says, "All things work together for the good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose." As that serenity prayer says, God will make all things right. Notice I didn't say perfect, because he doesn't necessarily make things perfect, but he makes things right for me and by recovery. I miss you forever, family, and I cannot wait till we're able to see each other again in person. But until then, may God keep you and bless you. I love you forever, family.